So here we are, and we are looking at what we're seeing. What we're seeing, what we're visioning, what we're imagining, what we're realizing today, what we are conceiving, and what we are believing. Of course, all of that wouldn't fit on the marquee outside, so it says, do you see? And that's an open question. And so, do you indeed see? And what are you seeing? And what's it all about anyway, all of that? And as you know, as very small children, we're very, very, very curious about everything. And we want to see everything. And we want to get into everything. And we're fascinated by everything. And the curiosity is just amazing. And we can be so caught up with one little tiny, shimmery, little shiny thing. And we're so delighted with it, we want to bring everybody around us to see it too. Look, look, look what I found. Look what it is. If it's a little bug or a little whatever, and so on. And you know, we're not just that curious anymore. But we just go along because we don't want to, you know, lose the moment that the child is having. And so at a very early age, we learn to look out there and discover the world by all that we see out there. We're very programmed to do that. In fact, we become very manipulated by that whole process, so that we begin to identify ourselves through what we see out there. When we see, we begin to have reactions inside of ourselves, responses inside of ourselves to what we see out there. And we think that's the way it's supposed to be, but it's not. Later on, we have to learn that what we see out there has been first seen within here. So if from the time we were knee-high to a grasshopper, the folks around us were helping us to look within ourselves and to see all the great shiny things in here, we would have even seen more great good things out there. But we get it when we get it. And so now we have learned that as I see it within, so too it is without. What I'm seeing within myself, what I'm feeling within myself, I see and feel out there. Because we've learned that life is not what it appears to be. Life is not what it seems to be. Life is exactly as I am. Life is what I'm seeing it to be, what I'm feeling it to be, and that's the way life responds to me. And so we get to understand that if I want to change things out there, because I'm looking out there now as a grown-up and I'm seeing things I'm not liking, I have learned that the only way to change what's out there is to first change what is in here. And that's what we're thinking about this week. That's what we're looking at this week. That's what we're understanding as an important key to the realization and the demonstration of any good things, any good thing in our lives. That's the way we do it. Now, there is the most important line in Trower that states this, and if you and I could grasp it, we would never go without ever again. And what Trower says is, having seen it, having felt it, having seen it, having felt it, I create or I will the means by which it manifests in my life. I create or I will the means by which it happens in my life. What does that mean simply? Simply means what I see and what I feel, I'm producing all the time in my life as an experience. That's the way the law of mind works, consciousness works. If I'm seeing it, if I'm feeling it, I am going to experience it. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. So I have to understand that it is done unto me as I believe. Life is the way I see it to be, the way I feel it to be, the way I perceive it to be, the way I imagine it to be, and the way I vision it to be. That's exactly how life is and no other way. And that is why when all of us look out onto the world, we're all seeing different things and consequently experiencing different things. So it does not behoove us to keep maintaining the mind or the consciousness of a worrier. We do not want to be worried people, because worried people produce things to worry about all the time. And of course, the greatest example of all is Job. Job, nothing that could possibly happen in the negative world, nothing outside of that could have happened to Job, because all of it happened to him. Every single thing that you could possibly think about negatively happened to Job. And then he states, oh, that which I feared the most has come upon me. Well, we're all Job-like to some extent or another, but we want to release the last vestiges of that kind of tendency toward worry. Because worriers are always anxious, they're always concerned, they're always fearful, they're always on the edge of something. They can never settle, they can never be content. Indeed, they tend to be a little, if not a lot, paranoid about life and living, and it's a hard way to live. So if any of us know worriers, or we are one ourselves, there's much we can do to alleviate that situation. And the only way to do that is to come into the awareness more fully and more deeply of some of the tenets of this teaching. Now, one of the tenets of the teaching is always, always, as far as possible, be mindful of the presence and the power of an infinite intelligence that exists within you, above you, around you, about you, below you, and understand that you can draw from that intelligence and produce any good thing that you so desire. In orthodoxy, it would be stated like this: pray without ceasing, court the divine presence, be in the presence of God always. It's the same thing that we're all saying, but with different words. So, the way to alleviate all of our ailments, all of our lacks, all of our limitations, all of our concerns, all of our inadequate sense of ourselves is to stay as far as possible, at least 51% of the time, in the awareness that I'm living in a divine substance, an abundant substance, an opulent substance, a providing substance, a never-ceasing providing substance. I'm living in it. It's living in me. It's above me. It's below me. It's around me. It's about me. It's everywhere present. And I, when I think into it and feel into it, pull from its power and produce a result in my life. My thought is always producing, coupled with feeling, inevitable consequences of what it is I'm thinking and what it is I'm feeling. That's how powerful consciousness is. And I am consciousness. I'm not the body. I'm not what is seen or what I see out there in you. You are more than that. I am more than this. I am consciousness. You are consciousness. It's all powerful. And I can draw from that negatively or positively and experience the consequences of whatever I'm thinking and feeling into it. It's as simple and as difficult as that. But we can absolutely change our consciousness if we want to change our lives. So when we look to our lives and we see the bad relationships, the not so good health, the not so good situation at home, the not so good situation at work, the not so good bank account, and so on, the way I'm going to change that is not by changing anything out there at all. It's by changing everything in here. Everything with regard to how I see it, how I feel it, how I vision it, how I imagine it, and so on. I can change the whole thing by changing what's in here, and only what's in here. It's not given to me to change anything out there, and it's certainly not given to me to change anything in you. It's only given to me to change what's in me, what I am doing, seeing, and am up to, so to speak. And that is awesome power indeed, because the magic of that is, and it's not magic at all, it's just a natural consequence, is that when I change myself, everything around me changes too. All of life changes too, because all of life becomes the change that I have become. All of life becomes the change that I have become. That's the way it works. It's amazing as that. So having seen it, having felt it, I create, I will, the means by which the good I desire is going to manifest in my life. Now, many of us find that hard to get our mindful arms around, because we have been so used to looking outside ourselves, to the experts outside of ourselves for whatever help it is we think we need. We're so programmed to do that. We're programmed to go outside of ourselves for the help that we think we need. And we have to reprogram ourselves to go within first for the help we need, which may send us to experts out there. But our first response must be from within ourselves. From within ourselves. And that takes some getting used to, and it's going to take a little time to change that around. But be patient and stay with it, because if you do, it's going to work wonders in your life, and you can have a life that's beyond all imagining. There was a great, there are several, you know, experimental psychological tests that get done all the time, and one of them was done in one of our great universities. They got a group of youngsters in, and they got them into a basketball court, and they had them all, you know, try to make as many hoops as possible. And then they broke them down into 3 groups, and the group A was told, go home, forget about it. Group B was told, you need to come here every day for an hour for 30 days and practice making hoops. And the third group were told, you go home, but every single day for 1 hour you have to envision yourself, imagine yourself making hoops. So at the end of the 30 days, they all came back. The first group A didn't improve at all. Not an iota. Group B improved 24%. And Group B were the ones who practiced all the time. And Group C, who visioned all the time, increased their capabilities by 23%. Almost the same as the group who practiced. And they were the ones who just visioned and visioned and visioned. Many, many tests have been done like this to prove over and over again the power of the mind, the power of imagination, the power of visioning. But you and I have to be very clear with regard to what visioning is. Now, when we talk about visioning, we're not talking about seeing rainbows with pots of gold at the end of them, seeing all those big, you know, money signs, seeing all the cars and the boats and the planes and all the stuff and all the bling and all the things and all of that. That's not what metaphysical visioning is all about at all. That's very lacking, that's very limited, that's very narrow way of thinking. What we're talking about is assuming the consciousness of fullness and plenty, prosperity, affluence and opulence, because we can. That's what we come from. That's what we're full of. That's what's already present in us, and we can move it through us. So we assume the consciousness of abundance, of prosperity, of health, of loving relationship, of creative expression, not anything. A thing is a very small part of it. We're assuming the consciousness of this wide, big, wonderful sense of height and width and depth and length. That's what we're assuming. In other words, we're telling ourselves the truth about ourselves. We're owning our inheritance. We're realizing that we are entitled members, entitled heirs to the kingdom and its fullness, and the kingdom is consciousness. The kingdom of the fullness in that consciousness. And that's what we're assuming. When I shared this morning, a high school teacher teaching in a private Catholic school, earning a pittance and so on, and I hardly had 2 pennies to scratch up against each other. Every day I got up and I said, thank God I'm rich. Thank God I am rich. I live in this great country. I have so many opportunities available to me. I feel good. Thank God I am rich. And that was establishing the consciousness of prosperity within me. And I said that every day. Thank God I'm rich. And to this day, I will say that. Thank God I'm rich. And I say it with much more passion when the appearances are otherwise. The appearances are otherwise. And then it all works out. I went to see a great movie recently. If you have any desire to go to the movies at all, this is one to see. It's Magnolia Hotel. There was one great line in it. I loved it. And the line was, everything will be all right in the end. And if things are not all right now, it's because it's not the end. I loved that line, pure science of mind. And if you assume that consciousness, if you know that feeling within you, that it looks bad, it looks dreadful, it looks terrible, but in the end it'll be fine. If any of you had the joy of taking one of Linda Gautier's classes in painting, everyone will tell you, in the middle, and 3/4 in, it looks dreadful. I'm not going to be able to go home with a picture at all, and they promised I could. But in the end, there's the picture looking back at them. They'll all tell you that. The appearance is, oh my God, such an ugly thing I'm producing here. But in the end, it turns into the portrait or whatever it is, and it's wonderful, and they're all different. They'll all tell you that. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you seeing when you look out into your life? You're only going to see, think, and feel what is in here. So before you look out, look in. Remember to look in before you look out. That's very important. And stop being the worrier. Stop being Job-like in your life, like the guy who for 8 years worried about the fact that if he lost his job, he couldn't take care of his invalid mother, whose treatments were very expensive. Well, of course, he was fired. Took 8 years, but he was fired. And he was broken-hearted for 2 seconds, but in the meantime, he had become a student of the science of mind. So instead of going to the pity party that he would normally do, instead of listening to all the pity from the friends around him saying how awful, how unfair, how unjust, blah, 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 he decided maybe there's something to this teaching. Maybe I'll try this teaching. And so he began to turn his thinking around, turning his visioning around, turning his feelings around, and somehow or another managed to hope enough to begin with and then believe enough to start slowly seeing his circumstances change. And in time, the man became very successful from the opportunities that came his way. And he said, this was the best thing that happened to me in my life. It was the turning point in my life. I became changed and changed for the better. Change of perspective, change of visioning, change of feeling, and the rest changes too. Is this easy? No. It is hellishly difficult. Really, muy difícil. Really, really, really. I'm saying it like it is. I'm not color coding it. It's difficult. When you're habituated into one way of thinking, feeling, and being, it's a bit difficult to turn that around. But it can be done. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people are doing it every single day. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And I mean that. If I can do it, anybody can do it. If one person on the plane can do it, all of us can do it. And it's worth the adventure, it's worth the endeavor, it's worth the commitment, it's worth the patience. Of course it is for you to come home to yourself and realize that you're more than you ever thought you were, that you're more than you ever perceived yourself to be, or anybody else either. And even if you have a good image of yourself, you're even more than that. And especially if you haven't got a good image of yourself, you're absolutely more than that. You see, here's the thing about you, here's the thing about me. Since I am pure energy, since you are pure energy, since you're pure consciousness, I am pure consciousness. That's indestructible, it can never be destroyed. It can never be diminished, harmed, or tarnished in any single way. I don't care how awful you've been living, how aborted your life has been, what mistakes you've made, how many failures you've had. It means absolutely nothing because it's not the truth of you. It is the false, erroneous lie of you. It's not the truth. It's what you've accepted about yourself as true, and it's not. And so, the truth is, you came out of an original, pure, undiluted consciousness, an infinite intelligence that is whole and complete always within itself. And you came out of that, were made from that, were created from that, as that. And you cannot be anything ever other than that, regardless of what others say you are or you say you are. You are this pristine state of energy, of consciousness, of a power and a force and an intelligence that no one will ever comprehend, ever, but will grow into more and more and more and realize it more and more and more. You are the original blessing of yourself. And you're here to discover yourself as that blessing. Within the blessing is the power, and no curse, whatever that is, can ever overcome or overthrow the power of the blessing that you are. Choose this day a blessing or a curse. Choose this day the affirmative or the negative. It's given to you to choose the focus and the weightiness of what you will think about or feel about. It's given to you. That's all you have to do is make the choice. And that's the biggest thing of all. The choice is yours. To choose this day the blessing, to choose this day the curse, whichever. But no matter what you choose, the blessing will always remain, and you can always draw from that. You can always think from that. You can always perceive from that. You can always feel from that. And if you do, that and only that will be returned onto you, pressed down and spilling over. So today and this week, when we think about ourselves as this original blessing, as we think about ourselves as that which thinks it, feels it, sees the end of it, and then consequently creates the means by which the end will be realized, when we think of ourselves in those terms, we will be filled with a sense of the true image of ourselves, which is an I can image, coming out of the I am image that I am, since I'm created in the image and likeness of the source of it all anyway, the source of all creation. If it's going to be, it truly is going to be up to you, up to me, to make it happen. And the only way you and I can make anything happen is the way we see it, the way we think it, the way we feel it, and how convicted we are about it. And that's what it is, again, coming back to understanding how that happens, is to keep in our mind all the time, I'm filled with the power, I'm filled with the presence. It is within me, it is around me, it is about me, it is above me, it is below me. It is that into which I think, it is that into which I feel, it is that into which I draw the good that I desire through the way I allow myself to show up, available to its power flowing through me and being that original blessing in my life and living that I'm here to be. That's the truth of you. I don't care what else anybody tells you, what else you're thinking yourself. No matter how much you're lamenting and blaming and excusing and complaining and all the rest of it, that's not who you are. That's why we love crabby babbies here, because we don't see them as crabby babbies or moaners or groaners or complainers. We go beyond that and we see the truth and we see the essence. It's up to you to do that for yourself, because nobody else can do it for you. You can. That's why you're here. That's why you're sitting in the seats. That's why you're hearing this today, because you're ready for it and you're equal to it. And it's time to get up and go. Your giddy up is up now, and it's up to you to do what you're going to do with it. You can jump on the horse and ride it, or you can let it go back to the barn. What it is going to be what it is for you today. I'm knowing you're going to choose the blessing and not the curse. And I am knowing that you're ready. You are ready to dare to be the truth of your own being. You are ready to dream better things for yourself. You are ready to vision from the end so that you can produce the means by which the end can be realized of any good thing that you so desire. I know you're ready to unveil that perfect image of yourself, the I can, I am image of yourself. I know you're ready to be happy, to be healthy, to be well, by understanding that you have to feel it now for that to happen. You have to see health everywhere, see wellness everywhere, see happiness everywhere in order for that to happen. Because it is done unto you as you believe, and if you can conceive it, if you can believe it, you can achieve it. So it's up to you to be all that you can be. And I'm asking you today, are you ready? Yes. Are you ready to see and feel the end of the good that you desire? And see the means of that coming into your life so that you can move into it and experience it? Yes. Are you ready to consider yourself to be the blessing that you are? Yes. Are you ready to get out and go out there and bless every blessed thing? Yes. So are you ready to be the best of yourself? Yes. To see life from its highest point of view? Yes. To know yourself as the ability of spirit and form? Yes. You are you? Well, when are you ready for it? Now. And so it is.